3 teams, Jamie, we're hearing, keen on signing him. We know his contract is up in the summer. We know that even right now he can sign a pre-contractual agreement with a European club, with a foreign club. But Arsenal, lurking in the background or not?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one, this Arsenal. They're in the race to sign him in the summer, we understand. They don't want to take him in this window, and Crystal Palace, for obvious reasons, would need to sell him this window to make any sort of money from him. At Arsenal, you would think he'd be well down the pecking order. As good a player as Marc Guehi is, he's not going to force either Gabriel or William Saliba out of that starting team. And look at how well Nketiah has done since he's come in at Arsenal as well. Manchester City want to sign him this month, would also be prepared to take him as a free agent in the summer. They would have to make Crystal Palace an offer that's too good to turn down to get him this month. They were willing to accept Palace £35 million from Liverpool at the last minute in the summer. They would still want a sizable fee. Liverpool are pushing to sign him as a free agent in the summer. He knows exactly what Liverpool's plans are for him, obviously, because he would have had those conversations back in August. And then Bayern Munich are the other sort of curveball in this situation as well. They want to sign him as a free agent in the summer. They are the only interested club who can speak to him now, though, of course. So I think Marc Guehi, interestingly here, Jeff, he's in the strongest position. He has his pick of all these clubs, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then I think it's going to come down to what suits him.
Yeah.
He didn't get his move in the summer, and the club stood in his way. So him going in January only benefits the club.
Yeah. And
it's probably taking a couple of options off the table if he goes now, because clubs want him on a free. Of course, he's great to have on a free.
Yeah.
You know, so
he's also an absolute snip at 25 million as well, isn't he, for the player that you're getting?
I think so, yeah. Like you see the prices players are going for now, it's crazy. I don't think we can wrap our head around it. So for him on a free or 25, 30 million, it's still a bargain. But the main thing is he wants to play every game up till the summer now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would want to go to Liverpool, because I feel like the pathway of it is he's go and learn alongside Virgil van Dijk with him, but he's the predecessor to go on and be Liverpool captain. I don't see why he's not. He has all the credentials to do it. He's doing it at Crystal Palace, performing for England. I feel like that's the route it'd go down to. But also it goes along the lines of, do you go to Bayern Munich to go and win things over there? I'm not saying Liverpool don't win things here, but Bayern Munich is also at the top. And he has got
guaranteed stuff on your CV.
Yeah,
Bayern Munich.
You are guaranteed that, but also he's got the luxury, because the clubs that are in for him now are certainly going to be in again in the summer and more.
Yeah. Why should Guehi chose you over not just Liverpool, but Arsenal and Bayern Munich?
I don't see why it shouldn't. I still believe we are one of the best teams in England, of course. And having the situation we're in right now, of course, our centre-backs being injured, our main centre-backs being Diaz and Kusanov, who have been our main 2 centre-backs this season. He has a perfect opportunity to come in, not just make an impact, but also becoming another starting centre-back under our team. I really like Marc Guehi. I really appreciate the way he is with Crystal Palace. And, of course, his professionalism towards this whole situation, like you guys just mentioned, it's just perfect. So, yeah, I'd love him to come in.
All right, Lola, well, make a case for Guehi going to you instead.
Well, with a bigger club to start with. I think it's difficult, because if Marc Guehi walked through the door tomorrow, there's tons and tons of minutes for him to play, and we really, really need him now. You know, he's right-sided. You wonder if maybe even he would end up doing a bit of right-back given the injury to Conor Bradley. But long-term, there are such huge question marks around that central area in our defence and the right side, to be honest, that I think for Marc Guehi, you know, I'd be going with Charlie Austin's advice to wait until the summer, because there's minutes now at Liverpool and Man City, but there's also huge long-term questions at Liverpool in terms of our makeup at centre-back. You know, Van Dijk's definitely around for the next 2 years. We don't know what's happening with Konate. And at Man City, there's also massive uncertainty around the future of Pep Guardiola. So I think it's very up in the air. He'd get lots of minutes this season wherever he went.
Alex, in terms of you winning the title, how much of a difference would Guehi make if he comes in now?
Big difference. It wouldn't just be any centre-back coming in. It'd be a made-already Premier League centre-back, of course, being captain of Crystal Palace. He understands the responsibility of leading a team, leading a squad. And, of course, now he'd have more responsibility leading us to victory, competing with Arsenal. Whereas I think it's a higher scale, you know. With Crystal Palace, he's balancing things. Whereas at Manchester City, be a real competition. He wouldn't just be competing for his place, he'd be competing for the Premier League. I think it's a great signing for him. Well, I do like what Lola said, of course. Maybe wait until the summer would be better, of course, but our situation we're in right now, having our two main centre backs out, it'd be a whole different situation as to him going to Liverpool. You see, him going to Liverpool, he'd be fighting for a position. I think if he came to Manchester City, he'd slot in right away. With Pep's eagerness, I think he really wants to make the team, and I don't see why it shouldn't happen.
Alex, I totally understand that, and if you sign him, he's going to come in and straight away and start because of the injuries you have. And he's going to be fighting. I think for both teams, if he goes to stays in the Premier League, the expectation is to win every week, right? And it's to compete at the top in every competition and European competition, the elite Champions League is to. But I think also on that side, like Lola says, he's going to go if he goes to Liverpool. I think he goes into the right side of centre half and with Van Dijk, and then he is a future Liverpool captain. I think that could be a selling point of it to Liverpool. But on the account that Man City need him now. They need him now.
How much would you be tempted, Charlie, by the fact that if he goes to Manchester City now, he could end up with a Premier League winners' medal in 5 months' time?
He could, and that is what Man City. That is the attraction of Manchester City. That's what they have when they attract. That's what they attract. That's how they attract players.
If he joins Liverpool, he's got a chance of a European Cup medal at the end of the season.
But that's also the same as Manchester City. So I mean, Manchester City have got the extra argument of winning the Premier League as well. Maybe.
Lola, I've got a question. Do you not think, of course, what's going on Arne Slot right now, the consistency, of course, the rumours that him not performing as well. If he leaves and he signs Marc Guehi, do you not think that will ruin the balance of everything?
Not necessarily, because I know before we came on, you guys were talking about Xabi Alonso, and he obviously favours a back three, and Guehi at Palace plays in a back three. So I think it's a signing that would work regardless. But that is probably another reason why I expect Marc Guehi to wait until the summer, because of the combination if he can get a great signing on fee wherever he goes, and he can wait and see who City get in potentially after Pep, and if Arne Slot's still at Liverpool. But yeah, I think he'd be very comfortable in a back three with Xabi Alonso, so I don't think that's a problem. I just want to say one thing about the European Cup, which is I'm sure you guys all saw Szoboszlai's attempted back heel last night against Barnsley. Well, the last time a Liverpool player in the FA Cup attempted a back heel and made a mistake was Jimmy Traore against Burnley in 2005, and what happened that year?
Yes, he went on to. Yes, he did. He went on to do it.
If Xabi Alonso was, for example, to come to Liverpool, Lola, if Xabi Alonso was to come to Liverpool and you were Marc Guehi, would you rather play for Xabi Alonso or for Pep Guardiola?
I think regardless, guys, I do think regardless, whoever's in charge of either club, whatever happens, any world manager wants a Marc Guehi in their team. Let's be clear, he's a world-class centre-half. So regardless who's in charge at Liverpool, who's at City, whatever happens, they would want a Marc Guehi in their team. And I think a lot of supporters of certain football clubs would want a Marc Guehi in their football club.
Yeah, I think Marc Guehi's a fantastic player, but I've said this before and got pelters for it. For me, he's a floor raiser, not a ceiling raiser. And Konate's been terribly inconsistent so far this season. But I don't think that. I think Konate, when he's playing the absolute best football he can play, he's the he captains France. He's played in World Cup finals. He's played in Champions League finals for Liverpool. He's a Premier League champion. I'm not sitting here and going, I think Guehi walks into the team ahead of Konate. So
I think he does. I think he does. Going on recent performances of what we've seen this season, 100% Marc Guehi goes in right side centre half.
And on top of that, Lola, why would he want to leave Crystal Palace to walk into that controversy, whether knowing he was going to start or not? Whereas in Manchester City, he starts instantly. The only issue he would have then if people come back from injury.
I think that's if making the decision now. If he's making the decision now and he has to make a decision now, then Man City does make sense because he's going to play a lot. And possibly have the chance of winning the Premier League. But this is probably why he'll wait, because there's uncertainty at both clubs. I think the interesting thing from a Liverpool perspective in terms of bringing him in now is the best football Ibrahima Konate has played at the club has come when there's been competition. So he played his best football when he joined and Joel Matip was starting ahead of him and he actually knocked him out of the starting 11. And when Jarell Quansah actually started last season as our first choice centre-back alongside Van Dijk. So the competition could really help Konate. I think that's possibly the only way that you'd see Liverpool definitely act now, is if they really thought it could bring about improvement in a long-term way across the squad. But we're not reactionary as much as sometimes I would like us to be.
Charlie, are we all right in just assuming that he's not going to go to Arsenal?
Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah, let's be honest. Arsenal's two centre-halves, partnership this year be the best of the Premier League. Regardless of how fit they have been, they've been the standout. I don't expect him to go to Arsenal, because for me that means you're selling one of them.
Whereas and even with injuries, if Arsenal even do get injuries, they seem to have the backup already there.
But he's going to go to Man City. Like you said, if he's going now, Alex, he's going to start. And he's going to start. And same with Lola. I think if he goes to Liverpool this January transfer window, I think he goes in to start. Yes, there's competition there, but with the Man City one, he's walking straight in due to injuries. And that's the thing. But I do feel, for me, if it's not Man City this window, it will be no one, and he'll wait until the summer.
Alex, just in terms of, we know that Manchester City want a centre-back now. Is it Guehi or no one? Is there someone else in your mind who you could bring in if Guehi does say he wants to wait till the summer? I
think I've got my mindset on Guehi. I have got my mindset on Guehi. I do. I don't think there's anybody else that won. He knows the Premier League. He's the captain of Crystal Palace. He understands responsibility and pressure. I want Guehi. And I'm very, very sure in that. I don't think there's anybody else I can really think of. I want him to come in and slot in, and I want him to take the lead, especially in the situation we're in right now. With Kusunov, of course, being our lead centre-back, I would like for him to have somebody next to him who's more experienced, who knows the Premier League. It's only Marc Guehi that I really want.
Lola, is anyone else in your mind for Liverpool?
Yes. I think if this summer's taught me anything, really, as a Liverpool fan, it's that buying these ready-made players, the Alexander Isaks of this world, Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, for big money, puts tremendous pressure both on the signing to work out and on the player themselves. And that's not a policy you've seen Liverpool pursue often in the transfer market. Lots of our best signings, in the era that we've had Michael Edwards, the sporting director at the club, have been smart signings, younger players that, are just approaching their peak. And you can see that in the fact that Liverpool have targeted Dean Huijsen in recent years and missed out, Lenny Yoro, in the signing of Giovanni Leone. So the centre-backs that I would like to see us sign are in that profile. Joel Ordonez, Jeremy Jacquet in Ligue 1, these kind of smart signings, players that are going to really blossom at the club.
OK. Lola, Alex, thank you.
Will Mikel Arteta be tempted to enter the market this month? Gail Davis will be speaking to the Arsenal boss this afternoon. Gail, here's a question for you. Arsenal have so much defensive cover these days. Is there any possibility, even a squidge, that they could go in for Marc Guehi?
Yeah, very good afternoon, Will. According to Kaveh Solikol, and we know him rather well, don't we, in Sky Sports News and around transfer windows, there is just that smidge that they could enter the race in the summer. It's perhaps not a surprising link, is it? Because we know that Marc Guehi is out of contract. So, yeah, entering the race perhaps in the summer was what he put out. Look, when you look at the facts, you said they are very well stocked. They have had injuries, haven't they, there during the season so far. But you look at William Saliba and Gabriel, undoubtedly the number one choices. They're both on long-term contracts now. They've been signed and sealed, haven't they? And they're here, you'd have thought, for the long haul. And added to which, they strengthened last summer with Christian Mosquera, who we've seen come in, haven't we, early on in the season when Saliba was struggling. And then you've got Piero Nkapie, who has a bit of a muscle problem post-Liverpool draw last week. So, yes, he might not be available immediately, but they're there. And then you have to add in also the likes of Urian Timber and Ben White, both really can play. They both preferred positions in the more fullback position, but they've both played in a central defensive role. And in fact, that's why Ben White was bought, wasn't it? So there are a lot of players there. So I'm not sure that there is even that squidge, or that smidge, as you put it. But the thing I would say is it seems very odd, doesn't it, to be talking about a transfer window in January. And guess what, Will Perry? We're not talking about a striker, because they've got one of those, and they've got two that are coming back in the likes of Jesus, who's found his form, and Havertz, who, of course, played for 20 minutes, having not played since the first game of the season. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say this afternoon. But, of course, this afternoon is more about that huge semi-final that they've got, first leg in the League Cup against Chelsea tomorrow night.
Gail, thank you very much. I don't know what squidge or smidge is in French. Do you have a word for that?
Sure. Even in English, I'm not really sure what it is.
It's a teeny-weeny chance, Jules. Look, it is, when it comes to Marc Guehi, there are a bit of FOMO knocking about with some clubs, because on paper, everyone fit. Arsenal really don't need Marc Guehi. I know that's crazy to say of a player of his quality, but Saliba and Gabriel have done so well for them. it makes sense for other clubs. But it also does make sense from a business point of view, for no matter who you are, Bayern Munich as well.
True. But you can also look at from the Guehi point of view and say, why would you go to Arsenal? Even if even let's say Arsenal wanted him and put an offer on the table, would you go there in World Cup year, as we've mentioned earlier, where you need to play a lot, this January, when he knows that unless there's something that happens to Saliba or Gabriel, he won't play anyway. He would not start in this team. There's no way. I don't think it would be a good move for him, whereas a City with all the injuries and the players missing, no problem. At Liverpool, a little bit like Arsenal, unless something happened to Konate and Van Dijk, I don't think he would get in.
Ahead of Konate?
I don't think so. Not for the partnership that he's created with Van Dijk right now. And Guehi, I know he's right-footed, but he plays on the left-hand side, where Van Dijk also plays, for Crystal Palace in the back three, so different to the back four at Liverpool. But I think you also, as a player, need to look at all of that. Okay, how many minutes will I get? Where will I fit in? Who is playing in my positions? And that plays a big part in your decisions.
I wonder what he is thinking, Marc Guehi. A penny for his thoughts. I mean, also the fact that they've gone out of the FA Cup to Macclesfield, by the way, at the weekend. So, you know, he's not defending that. He's got no dreams of going back to Wembley to lift that trophy again.
And to Julian's point, I wonder how much, coming through the Chelsea academy and having been deemed surplus to requirements at Chelsea, he is sort of wary of the fact that if you do move to a big club where you're third or fourth in the pecking order, you know, it can be very damaging for your career. So I think he wants to move to a club where he's a guaranteed name on the team sheet. And City would seem to tick that box.
And Jeff Hendrick, a couple of hours ago with us, was saying that when you can go to these clubs, I mean, even in Conor Gallagher's case, Atletico Madrid are a massive football club, right? I know they're not Real Madrid, Paul, but they are huge. And Conor Gallagher is kind of out of sight, out of mind when it comes to playing for England. I'm not suggesting that Guehi would go and play for Bayern Munich and suddenly Tuchel turns his, or whoever the England manager is, turns his back on him. When it comes to what Liverpool had arranged with Marc Guehi in the summer, it was a fee around, I think, £35 million, wasn't it? Who knows what the deals were behind the scenes.
Negotiations as well, because if Guehi comes as a free agent, it's a very different structure to the deal than if you have to pay a transfer fee, obviously, now in January, or it would have been the case last summer for Liverpool in terms of signing on fee, in terms of wages probably. And now that you've got somebody else in the mix as well, between City and Liverpool, it will not just be like who offers the most, because Guehi will look at other parameters really in this discussion. But financially, it would be a very different agreement for Guehi than it would have been 6 months ago for Liverpool, or that it would be even right now. That's why I think it's probably better for him to stay at Palace, finish the season, and then as a free agent, he will have so many more options than now.
And in August, Liverpool were the champions. They still are the champions, of course, but they just spent a lot of money over the summer. Oh, my gosh, the sky's the limit for Liverpool. Manchester City, they had a bad season last season. Are they going to get back to the city of old? Well, fast forward 6 months, they do seem to be back to the city of old, whereas Liverpool, there's now a bit of a question mark over them. So are they as attractive a prospect as they were back in August? Or the chance to work under the greatest coach of his generation, Pep Guardiola, is that a lure for Guehi?
Yeah, and actually there might not be a guarantee that City do go back in the summer, because Guardiola will be back from his broken leg, and
absolutely.
What's happening now is the chance to strike if he wants Manchester City. That makes sense. But as you say, the world is absolutely his oyster.